Yes, hello everyone in LinkedIn land and beyond. It's Thursday and it's noon Eastern, and it's another episode of Untangled. I'm Jen Frazier. I'm your host, CEO, founder of Firefly Partners. Been doing this technology, nonprofit, social good work for about 100 years. I like to affectionately say it's been 100 years. It's only been since 2007, but that kind of feels like 100 years. And next year is going to be 20 years, which I can't even really talk about. It like makes me have like a moment. But along the way, I've met a bunch of amazing people, and we started Untangled to have these great conversations and bring great people along to help us all learn and untangle the crazy mess behind the technology that helps our missions run. And today, I am joined by the fabulous Leah Lundberg, formerly Leah Caldwell. If anyone out there is following along in your fandom, which I know they are, of Engine 9. Let's see, you've got some crazy title there. Your VP Marketing, Ops, COO. I don't know. There's a bunch of letters and titles, but tell everybody about yourself and thank you so much for being here.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Jen. So, yes, I'm Leah Lundberg. I'm originally from Australia, so you can acclimate to my accent. Yes, I work for Engine 9 and Fracture, which are both very much SaaS companies in the tech space, serving nonprofits and political agencies and such. I've worked in the nonprofit space for, probably about 100 years or so in a number of countries. So like I said, I'm from Australia. I also worked in Canada and the US as well, and the UK. So I've kind of been around the block a few times in different places, trying to spread good things around the world.
I love that. We love that. How long have you been outside of Australia?
Oh, it's been a long time now. So probably about 16 years. So I've lived away. I was in Canada for a number of years and now I'm here in the US. So
Yeah. You get
yeah.
back do you get back down under often? Or
I do as much as I can, but you need a good whack of time. But now they do direct flights from the East Coast, so it's a long plane ride,
oh
but
my
it's
God, how many hours is
like
that? That's
I think it's like
like
17
18.
hours or
Yeah, we would
something.
say like 17 or 18,
But
yeah.
yeah, I
Ooh.
mean it's still pretty good. So I'm happy to just sit on a plane
I was gonna
and
say, if you can get on one plane and get on, and then you're like, fine, I'll just
right,
like settle in, tuck in, get my
exactly.
stuff all sorted. I know. And then you're like,
Exactly, and avoid LAX altogether. Brilliant.
oh my God, amazing. Or SFO, where you're like, those are my two usual launching point. I've gone to,
Exactly.
my friend lives in New Zealand, so I've done the thing, and it's like, oh,
Nice.
look, that's a long flight. But well, we're lucky to have you in the States. Thank you so much for being here. And I want to just give you like a minute so folks don't know about either Fracture or Engine 9. You can talk about both, but I've kind of been hovering around the edges of Chris and his work at Fracture and stuff like that. And I think Fracture was sort of like, it was like the robots before the robots were cool or talked about that much, which is kind of fun to sort of like go, we've been doing this for like 100 years, people. Okay, maybe not 100, maybe only 75, but we've been doing it for a while, way longer than sort of it's been talked about in sort of the AI space now. So you could talk about what Fracture kind of does, and then I'd love to just do a little bit on Engine 9 before we jump right into
Sure.
the website stuff, so people just know kind of functionally like what both of those companies do.
Sure. So, just to give you a little context, so Chris Lundberg, who also founded Salsa Labs and Democracy from Action, he also founded Fracture and also founded Engine 9. So he's got a huge breadth of experience in the nonprofit tech space, just from creating payment processes and a whole bunch of other amazing sort of technology. So from after Salsa Labs, he created a company called Fracture, which really focused on data warehousing and automation. And what's come from that, and now we have a ton of clients in the nonprofit space, and we take care of a lot of political clients as well, just due to the way data warehousing works, which really ties in a lot into AI now. So for those who don't know, data warehousing is basically most organizations should have one. If you use multiple tools, such as maybe you use Mailchimp and you might have a CRM and you might have like five other tools you're using. A data warehouse is basically a giant repository for all of your data to come in to one place and be standardized. And you can do all kinds of crazy stuff from there, like
Yeah.
reporting, targeting, attribution. There's all kinds of like really fantastic data that you can really do work with from that space.
Right.
And there's automation involved in that. If a human can do it, we can get a bot to do it. So that was kind of, so before AI was even really kind of a
I know the
thing.
little robot, little
Yeah,
images.
there's
On,
a
I
bunch of
always
little
just like,
robots out there doing our
robots
thing,
do
doing our
it.
bidding. But with now that AI is very prominent, data warehousing is more important than ever. Engine 9 is basically like I guess the home that all of this lives in. So Engine 9 provides the AI on top of that can give all of the information that you need. So you won't need a UI anymore. You can basically just log into this one sort of prompt screen and you can ask it to access your database and get anything you want. So if you want to target, people who went to this one event 2 years ago and also have donated since then, it can spit you out a list. Like it's like incredible stuff that we've never had access to traditionally in this format before. Like you've always had to know a bit of programming or tables or go through an engineer, and those days are really limited now. So it's actually opened up a whole new world that I know is very hard for people to wrap their head around because it's kind of crazily amazing. But it is accessible right now, and Engine 9's providing one of the few organizations that provides like true attribution, so like SMS attribution, so you can see lifetime value of donors. You can access like true data to make strategic decisions about the future of your organization, which is more imperative than ever right now as the space is changing so rapidly.
It is. Okay, that was a great summary. It makes me think of the communication that came out from Salesforce recently of just saying like we're gonna
Yeah.
be done.
So
Yeah.
in reference to that, yeah,
Yeah.
so Salesforce has just released a headless CRM
Right.
kind of move. Now you're going to start seeing that everywhere. We actually have a headless CRM as well.
Yeah.
They just got into the market first, but we've
Yeah.
had that. That's been on the back burner for us as we're launching that recently.
Okay.
Now, the headless CRM from Salesforce only gives you access to their data. You
Right.
still are going to have to pay a lot of money to access that. And to be fair, the SaaS is really declining in value at the moment. So
It
like
is.
they all have to pivot. They all have to
Yeah.
move into the AI space in some way. But at the end of the day, no matter what Salesforce creates, you're still stuck in their ecosystem. They're not bringing in all the data from all your other platforms. You're not getting attribution data from everything. So it really is just another way to access the same information that they've always
Right.
given you.
Right. Right.
Just to be
Versus like an
clear.
Engine 9 is really trying to be let's look
Everywhere.
across your
Yeah.
whole tech stack essentially. Like,
Exactly. And another part of that is you can like take out a piece, like say, because all your data standardized, you can
mhm.
migrate to anything without any risk with your own data. Like,
Right.
so there's all of these pain points that have really stopped people moving on to better platforms or just a better way of doing things.
Hmm.
Those pain points are really gone now. And I
Yeah.
think that, that's where that investment in having your data in one spot is really, I know people talk about that, but this truly is enabling everything that you could ever want to do with that information from every single source of donations or communication ports that you have with your clients or your donors.
That's so
It's
rad.
exciting.
Yeah. So we'll talk about how folks can find you, learn more, get a demo, see what this
Absolutely.
new crazy world's all about. So let's pivot. So the other thing that's dying is your traditional content management systems on
Hmm.
websites. I know Firefly's built a lot of websites over the years, and maybe we were prescient. I don't know, but we've been really pivoting away from that for the last few years, just trying to say like we will still help folks with websites, but our main thing right now is we're like we want to help you optimize sort of user flow and user journeys through your existing website and sort of like think about it from more of like the user perspective, not from the organization's perspective. Like we need a new redo of this whole website. We're like, no one's going to sit and sift through your whole website. Spoiler alert. You're like driving people through, and you should have these very clear pathways of like, great, a little bit of information, whatever, but get them to where you're trying to get them pretty quickly because their attention span is about zero point 0.3 seconds. So, you don't have a lot of time and they're not sitting around like reading all this great content on your website. Like, so first of all, let that fantasy die. But it ends up getting your content obviously out in lots of other places. It's not like I don't think you have good content organizations, but it's not just don't dump it all on your website and be like, they're gonna come and like read it all or whatever. You're like, they're totally not. But it's this content management system going away and sort of the proliferation, not new necessarily, but newer, and they're changing and many are coming on the market again, like every moment seems like of every day there's another sort of no code website builder is what I've just been calling them. But so when we talked at NTC, I've been talking about you and our talk at NTC for quite a while on many of these episodes, and we sat at the bar and you were like, Jen, you can do this. And I was like, okay. But it was like your existing URL, your, whatever, you've done some, work on how you want to revamp your content or user flows and all that kind of stuff, and just dump it into Replit or whatever. And this is what I did, and you can do it too. And so, as we saw 2 episodes ago, I tried it. It's been, mildly successful. But I really want to hear about you as sort of like, you'll say, I'm not a developer. I am not a developer even by trade. Like, it's not like you were a developer and then you changed and did other things. You're like, no, I'm a designer. different like processes in the brain, like not that kind of person. So help us understand, first of all, why did you like raise your hand and do this in Engine 9? Or you're like, no, I want to try this. Or someone was just like, I don't know, Leah will do it. Or how'd that happen? And then talk about your process a little bit as sort of the like how this all came about, because I already shared our experience and it's been different than yours. So I'd like to hear your story.
Yes, I've been talking about Replit a lot. I'd like to point out I do not work for Replit. I do not get kickbacks. This is just a tool I have. I've talked about it so much, maybe I should be getting kickbacks at this point. But I've just found it a really successful tool. And just a little bit about it is one of the reasons I like this tool as well is the developer of Replit's been around for about 20 years. They've been around for a long time. And their whole premise was being able to, they're all about open source coding and wanting to spread that around the world and basically, like democratize coding. So that's kind of been the kind of premise. And then they built this other, basically an agentic kind of level on top of their development tool, which now gives access to really a vibe coding environment. For those who don't know what vibe coding is, it's more being able to use an interface to be able to create something based on a vibe or a feel, and being able to kind of come up with an idea of what you want to create based on what you have in your mind, as opposed to needing to know how to program it specifically. Right. Now, I have a web design background, but not a web developer background. So I haven't really done much coding. I understand how websites function. I understand the architecture. I know what the bits I need to take care of in that. So maybe that some of that background definitely is helpful when you're going into a project like this. So basically what I did was I found this tool, I made a list of all the things that needed to happen for me to be able to launch that tool publicly. And I'm going to say this off the bat because not everyone is aware of this, and it is a security risk. Don't go dumping all your tables into Replit without asking it to secure it first. Once you're in a live project like that, everything is visible. So that the one thing about using these vibe coding tools is you need to be able to make sure you're covering your bases as far as asking it to put up security walls, asking it to take care of your data. Otherwise, you're just leaving an open door for any hacker to just come in and take all of your information. So if you're starting out with this, do ensure that you put that security up before the site goes live. I'm just going to say that first and foremost, because I know that is definitely something that I've seen happen, and people's security has been a major issue because they've uploaded tables from a donation list, which has all of people's information on it, which is a massive privacy issue.
Okay. Is there something, you have to tell us something specific, or are you just like...
So for instance, I'll give you a mild one. Like I uploaded a list to a website that had, say, 200 people that are on our email list, but it has like all their email addresses, they're all verified, and I just had it in a table. And then I was like, oh, hang on, anyone can just log into that, or not even just go into the back end of the code and just pull that table straight out, because I've got no security measures on that whatsoever. And it only took me a minute, then I put it on there. But then it occurred to me that these things are not automatic. So you're basically building a coding environment with an AI on top of it.
Yeah. So what did you tell it to sort of make it secure? Is there a specific way to make it?
I said exactly that. I wrote a prompt saying, ensure that all data is behind an adequate firewall and is password protected. And then it told me what it was doing. And then I made sure that was the case. So, it's just making sure that just make sure your data's safe, essentially, is what I'm saying. We can play around with all of this stuff and it's great, but it's very easy to just forget about those security aspects. And I would just hate for anyone listening to go out and do that and put their, their website or their client information at risk. So I
Yeah,
just want to say that off the bat, really
that's
important.
good. That's a very good measure. I'll also say that like when I went in and was playing with Replit, you can get pretty far without paying.
You can,
Also,
yeah.
so that's why I
Yeah,
also
so
was like, oh, same thing I would say about any of these AI tools. I'm like,
mhm.
pay,
Yeah,
pay
yeah.
for an instance, like again, at the very least, like make it your own before you start dumping any of your stuff in there too. But that's an extra layer of like, and then make sure that it's secure depending on what you're putting in there. But
That's right.
excellent point. I was like, wow, you can
Yeah.
just like open it up and be like, blah, 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 start building stuff. And it's like, blah, it starts going. I'm like,
Yeah. And you
I haven't paid anything yet. And I was like, hold
and you can
on.
import anything in there. It is worth a paid account because like the way that Replit works, and many you'll see this coming up with many other AI sort of
Yeah.
agentic developing sites, is they do it based on tokens. So
Yeah.
after you go over a certain amount, you pay X amount of cents per task that it does.
Right.
So, which is a really interesting way of charging
It is.
for basically of effort. So, Engine Nine's taking that type of pricing on board shortly too, just because we think that's very economical for the user, but it's also, it pays for the effort of the AI itself, and you're not paying for stuff you're not using. So
Right.
it's really based on how much you want to dive into it. Like my bill for Replit's quite high because I'm in there constantly doing development work
Yeah.
and building out websites. So basically what happened is the Engine 9 website, I built it originally on Webflow. I was really frustrated with the template that I got from Webflow because the problem is with any of these templated sites, like WordPress is similar too. I'm sure I hate Drupal. I'm just not a fan because it's so code based. I hate it. But personally, but like Drupal can be the same. Like a lot of these are like template based, but you are really relying on how good the template has been, the code is from the developer who's written it for you. And
Right.
I'm sure anyone who's used WordPress will run into this when you have to do an update and all of a sudden, you have to do a security update and then everything's broken. So that is going to go away now with things like, Replit. You don't have to worry about updates and things like that anymore. They are all built
Just
into your
like,
site.
yeah.
So the maintenance role is really shifting as far as, web development and web agencies essentially is really shifting. Having said that, with the actual development itself, I basically sent it to the website I'd already built. And I asked it certain questions, like I wanted it to recreate that. I wanted a similar look and feel. So I was very clear about that. I wanted it to have the same tone that I had before, so my brand voice was the same. And then some things it wrote, honestly, quite better than what I could have written when it rewrote things. Some of it wasn't true as well. So when it's writing things for you, you must check it is
Oh
writing for
God,
you
yes.
because it absolutely will make things up that sound fabulous, but they may not be what you provide as a service if you're an organization.
It came up with a whole slew of services for us. I'm like, oh,
I
these
mean,
sound amazing. Maybe we could just figure out how to do that
I
now.
know, right? I'm reading this business plan that it whipped out, and I was like, wow. I mean, there's some good pieces of
Sounds
this,
amazing.
but you're looking at it. I mean, what you're getting from AI is the summation of everything on the internet, and a
Right.
lot of it is fairly average. But when it comes to certain writing pieces, if it's been looking at all of your blogs and all of your website content, it has a fairly good grip of
Right.
what might be good for your organization. So it is a
Totally.
good thing to leverage for your communication sides of things, at least to get you
Oh yeah.
a starting point. You do have to edit, you do have to have a human eye over it, but it's definitely for content has been a game changer as far as
Huge.
getting something up quickly.
Yeah.
Or I remember we decided what the name of our AI agent was for our site. So I just asked it to pepper that through the site, and it did it in 5 minutes. And if when you're doing a website redevelopment, that would take like months to get
Oh,
that all
it's like
sort
a
of
long, tedious
right.
journey. Yeah.
So there's aspects like this that are incredibly valuable for time and effort, and also to honestly keep your brand voice accurate. That's the
Exactly.
same, like when you have like a ton of comms people working on, like you have to have one person has to be the editor to go, this is off the voice, this is correct. There's a lot of kind of work that goes into keeping that consistent, and AI can really help, get that messaging exactly where you need it with your input. It is
Yeah.
not going to take over. It needs us to bring that human element. It doesn't know what is inappropriate and what is appropriate. Like it doesn't know those things.
No.
But I did ask on our side, I asked for something like I wanted an edge to our language, our brand voice. So I wanted it more edgy and more punchy, and then it would give me a punchier version. I'm like, oh, it's a bit controversial, but I like it. And it
I
really
know.
actually helped us really come up with what that next step looks like for what we wanted to achieve. and to where we wanted to place ourselves, it kind of helped us get that right voice for us too. So, from a branding perspective, it was actually like another person on our team that had all the knowledge that could actually give a starting point to be able to shift that as well, which helped develop some of the content for the website too. But I divert. But that's like a big part of it, thinking about the process and how you want to use it.
No, I think that's all really critical because I think as we all know, the prompting and the shaping of what you're trying to get out of it is really the most important part of it. Because if you just show up and give it like a generic, hey, I'm trying to do this thing, and you don't get very specific, it doesn't, it needs the specificity, it needs the guardrails, and it needs as much direction, like we always talk about being, whatever, the intern, the sort of whatever, but we're like, it's just this open, sort of malleable, very deep knowledge, but it doesn't know how to take and use and sort of apply that knowledge without us guiding that. It's like the weirdest thing to be like, there's this like amorphous brain of all the things, and you have to be like, but how do I take it and make sure that it's helping me in the most appropriate way? And that just that act of understanding how to make it work for you is the massive learning curve we're all on right now, which is really interesting.
Absolutely.
To watch.
And I think that really the adoption piece is really the sticking point for a lot of people. If not, like, you might use AI in your daily life to, I don't know, look up something instead of using Google, but how do you use it at work? And there's a lot of other ways that we can really like utilize AI to help us with our workflows and help us like just do things a lot more like accurately, because humans make a lot of errors. So there is like opportunity for things like tedious tasks, but that's where the automation has always been around. That's where Fracture came from, right? It's always been around, but people haven't fully understood the benefit. And I think there's ways that we can embrace AI, but we also have to see it as a tool. It's not sentient. It's not going to take over anything. It's a tool that we can, utilize to help us move forward in our missions of our organizations, or help our clients with their missions. Like, it's really here as an asset for us a very powerful asset for us to use. And the website development's just one aspect. Like, when you think of rapid response, websites, like this is where it's at now. You can build a site and then burn it down the next day. Like,
you can update it, change, add sections, totally rewrite the content.
Donation portal, all of it. You can get it all up and running. Rapid response is no longer just emails.
It's like, so the idea of sort of being like, oh, great, now I want to go, oh, my homepage, actually, you know what? I'm not highlighting all of our conferences that are coming up enough. So like, change the homepage, rewrite a section there, push it in between these two, and I wanted to talk about blah, blah, blah. I mean, you like give it these very narrow guidelines and parameters. You're just like, go do that. Like, to go do that before was like a whole thing. I mean, then you kind of go, okay, great, now we've got these modular blocks or whatever, and we can do this and da. But like, then we're going, oh, no, don't even worry about that. You just say, hey, between the header or the hero and the blah, 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 I want to like throw in a blah. And it's just like, oh, okay, great.
Exactly.
And just rewrites it. It's like, you have to, I was trying to explain this to someone on my team yesterday too, where you're kind of like, until you also get in and start using it, you also don't even really understand, because you're limited by your own understanding of your own experience. And so you actually have to get in and be like, oh, wait, I can't. This is like this thing that's happening here too. It's like, instead of saying, hey, here's how we've done stuff for a long time, and we're going to try and have AI help us make it go faster. And I'm like, throw it out, because it's limited by this and like our experiences. And you have to be like, yes. And again, not that we don't need the human, but I said, instead be like, here's the problem that we're trying to solve. These are some obstacles that we've faced, or whatever. These are challenges or whatever. AI, Claude, how would you solve this? Like, different than, hey, I've decided this is the way we solve these problems for clients, and we're going to try and have AI help us make each of those steps more efficient. I've been like, actually, throw our process out the window for a second and just ask and be like, what would you do? Like, when I was describing this yesterday, I was like, this is a moment too that kind of was like, where I was trying to mimic something on our website. And Claude basically said, just take a little video or a screenshot, because there's a little animation where our little arrows go boop, boop, boop as you scroll. And we couldn't quite find that code in the background, and it couldn't quite replicate it. And it said, oh, just take a video of it. and then upload that little video of it and I can build that. And like my developer was like, say what now?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, because I had thought, do I have to go find that snippet of code
Right.
that doing that? And I was like, no, just show me what you mean it to do in a video so I can see, so I can process that as data. Again, all it's doing is sort of breaking it down into data and then
That's right.
processing the data and then going, oh, I can mimic that now and build that into the site where do you want it? And I'm like, oh, great. And that was like a whole, I said, see what I'm saying? Like you don't, your mind is like, I got to go find and search for that code and take that code snippet and put it over here so that now this thing knows it. And it's like, just get out of your way. Get out of your own way.
That's exactly right. We're restricted by our own way of thinking. That is, and the old ways of thinking. And I think that is the biggest barrier at the moment. Like there's
Yes.
this huge asset sitting here waiting to do work for you, and you just have to ask it. That's why
Yeah.
every time someone says something, I'm like, just ask AI. Like, just
I
ask
literally did
AI.
the same thing. I was
You
like,
know,
I
you
said,
just
well,
ask
then,
Google. I don't ask Google anymore. I go to AI and I ask AI because I'd rather have that summation of information. However, having said that, that also talking about the website piece, the things that you need to ask it to do as well is to do your optimizing. It can do GEO optimizing, SEO optimizing for you.
right,
Which, because we don't like that's such a new thing too, is learning how to optimize for AI to be able to read our content and
right. And show it in the search that's
and the
happening
search
in the AI.
exactly. So
Yeah.
when you're building these sites through Replit and other Lovable or these other orgs that do similar
Yeah.
things, asking it to optimize itself to be read by AI is amazing. It takes 5 minutes, and then you're like, cool, I'm going to show up on all the searches now. So there's things like that that, like, as a human, are things that we have to learn how to do and get it wrap our head around. But AI already knows how to do this stuff. So, there's things like that, for instance, that would be a long-winded job. It doesn't need to be that anymore.
Yeah.
But at the same time, to your point, like humans drive these processes. Like, so, in order to be able to build a site, you still have to have a little bit of knowledge about the things that are important. Like security is important. Knowing how to, have someone, how to reach you, making sure those links work. I get to go through my site, check all the links, tell me what's broken. Then it will
Yeah.
go and fix it. Like,
Yeah.
these are just things that we used to have to do manually. And
Yeah.
we just don't need to do that anymore. We can spend your time on other projects
Yeah.
that there is a rabbit hole that you get into when you get into design too, where I'll like start to design something. I'll get so distracted by the amazingness of what it can do that
Right.
I get veer off path into side projects all the time rather than staying on track with what I'm trying to do. So I would also suggest having a list of things you want to achieve and trying to get those done first before veering off because it's exciting when you get in
Oh
there.
my
You can
God.
like to be able to bridge the gap from the designer and the what if in me to be able to actually
I can
create
make this.
that was the gap. I'd have to go to a developer and get them to write it, and I mean, I love engineers. I'm married to an engineer,
Oh
but
my God.
at the same time I want to do it myself. So I really love that this has removed that barrier as well for people that have a vision. You have to
Exactly.
have a vision going in.
It's a very exciting and interesting time for the creative types, I think, and I think it's a tension that we were talking about before too, even back in NTC days too, about the idea of like the creative and the sort of this like what is original and all that, which we don't need to get into like in depth, but it's sort of this moment where you say, I'm creating, and then there's a lot of people feel like the AI is sort of like cheating or sort of robbing the creative folks from having original and originality and sort of saying, hey, I did a thing, it's mine, and kind of ownership and all this IP stuff and all that stuff. And also I'm also like, I guess as a like a visionary and a thought or a thinker and like I want to create. It's so exciting for me, but I'm not a writer and I'm not like a creative like painter or artist and trying to create original works and then being like people are going to sort of be able to this gets dumped in sort of the big common brain and that it dilutes the ability or the value, I guess. And I'm like, this is a little bit like kind of what we were talking about before we even started too. This idea of like the human in the not just human in the loop, which I'm sort of over that statement before we even get using it too far, is the human element in the development and the co-development of this whole process, and say like the human element, at least for the long foreseeable future, isn't going away, isn't getting replaced. All those types of things. There's so much value and need for the originality, the creativity, all of that artistic view into and creation of things. So I would definitely be like, oh, please artists and things like that, don't ever, be afraid or whatever, but it's okay. And we need it desperately because these
Yeah.
things are not creative. They're not. They're
No.
not thinking. They're not creative. They're not original thinkers or any of that. It's just regurgitation. And
Hmm.
again, it's a tool. So you can make it. So I think also I'd love people to just be really clear about what it is, how you're using it, and the desperate need for us to help continue to help shape it in
Yeah.
good ways. I know you had a lot of thoughts about like people and the use of like this technology that we talked about before, other stuff you would like to add about that.
Yeah, well, as a designer myself, I know there's a lot of folks out there that are concerned this is taking our jobs. I'm a graphic designer, I do branding, but I can tell you right now, no AI is popping out a better brand than what I can do myself. There needs to be input from humans. Human input's so essential for every single job that we do. And I can honestly say as a designer that I've borrowed concept off other people. That's the nature of design. We borrow and we're inspired by other people. And AI is just another tool. Like, they were worried when the camera came out, when the printing press came, they all thought this would take over artists' jobs, and it never did. It just enhanced them, and it was
Yeah.
just another way of achieving a different modality of art form. So, but it has to be driven by someone who has vision, and you have to be able to really drive the AI into that direction to basically be your artist for you, to actually physically do the work. But it has to have your inference and your viewpoint in order to do that. It's very much hands-on in that respect.
Totally.
And I mean, I talked about this at a conference recently, but so I did up some t-shirts for a conference, and I did one that was prompt fiction, which I just asked AI to kind of just do a mock-up version of the video, like of the movie poster, and it did a
Right.
great version. And I can't sell them because I'm pretty sure it's copyright, but it was just for me to wear for myself. And I had to have a good look at the picture because in the back of the picture it had posters in it, and the poster said LLM Lives Matter. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell? Now, how inappropriate is that? The picture was very cool, other than that. But the
Yeah.
whole point was like, if I hadn't looked at that, and I would have printed that on a t-shirt, worn that to a non-profit conference, that would
Right.
have been the most horrific. That'd be terrible. Check your
Wait
work,
a minute.
guys. As I'm saying. But really, I mean, that's a good example of how it thought it was being creative, because I asked for edgy, and that's what
Right.
it saw was edgy,
It has
right?
no idea.
It
Yeah.
has no idea, but I think that's a prime example of how, we need to direct this technology and direct this. It's really, if you think of it as just a giant ball of knowledge of all the things on the internet, we have to figure out what we're going to do with that information and
Right.
also point it in the right direction. So
Right.
I know there's a lot of fear out there. I hope people can kind of learn to, or at least it be open to embracing some of this new tech. It's not going anywhere. This is not
No.
a fad. I hate to break it to anyone who thinks it
I know,
is.
like, I'll just let it go and run its course. I'm like,
Yeah,
no.
it's not going anywhere. I mean, all of the major venture capitalists are all investing in only AI product right now. Like,
Yeah.
SaaS companies, like their stock price is plummeting because
That's
the
like,
per seat model is going to be gone, which is why organizations like Salesforce have to pivot into something else, or then business is gone. They're a multi-billion-dollar organization. Of course they have to pivot.
yeah.
Now, don't be fooled by some of these, new products that these organizations are bringing out. It's
Yeah.
still just another gateway to their shitty product,
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day. I obviously don't work for Salesforce, but, like I also don't endorse them as a great product. I think they're super overpriced and they lock you into long-term contracts. This is just my personal Leah's Lundberg opinion,
That's totally
not endorsed
fine.
by anyone
Totally
else.
fine.
But I think it's just a good example of we have to get our heads out of the game of thinking, I've invested this much money in this tech, therefore I have to stick with it. That money is gone. It is dead money. You just need
Yeah.
to look forward and make the best decisions for the future
Exactly.
now.
It's a sunk cost, whatever. It's a fallacy, though.
Sunk
You just
cost.
say that you did it, you used it, you got what you got out of it, and that is great. But there
Let
are
it go.
different new ways,
Yeah.
and you just like get
It's hard. It's hard to let go of that money. I understand, but it's already gone. There's no point investing more
pulling it
time and
forward with
energy.
you
Yeah,
doesn't
there's
keep
no
that.
innovation happening in
It's
these
not.
companies
Right.
you're linked into. If there
Right.
was, then they wouldn't have you in a 10-year contract.
Exactly. Exactly. But
Just saying.
basically, as we end and wrap up, it's the idea of like, try to help us folks get over the fear. I know there's a lot of fear. I did hear it a lot. I heard a lot of fear at NTC from the nonprofit community in particular. Obviously, we have a lot of concerns about who's running the show, which is why even like last week when I had Anne Murphy on the show, we're talking a lot about like building tools from within the social good space, all from the ground up. A bunch of these major players and AI tools have sort of dominated, but that does not mean they are the only ones available for folks either. A lot of folks are like, LLMs, open source, there's stuff here that we can build from the ground up without, kowtowing to the big tech bros and stuff like that too. So
Absolutely.
I think that's important for people to hear and know and understand, and then understand sort of, yes, what we're talking about, how they're used, how it's basically a big unmolded piece of clay, essentially, that's for you to help shape, and we can shape it in ways that work for our sector and not have to just like keep going into like, I have to pay the master and all this kind of stuff. So we're trying to help break out of this space. I'm particularly super excited about this. And so I love all of your background information on the no code tools, website tools. I think, again, it's just an example of one of the ways in which we're breaking out of some of the old ways of thinking and sort of putting a little bit more control. I think of it as putting more control in your hands, back to the vision, back to the creator, back to the sort of organizations themselves, saying, this is what I want. How many years have I listened to poor nonprofits show up and be like, I can't even update the content on my own website? Like, that is such a travesty. And you're like, those days literally are gone. So if you're still struggling with that kind of environment and you're like, oh, but again, I put a bunch of money into it or whatever, just take a pill, swallow it, settle down, and be like, I just gotta move. I just gotta move forward.
Move on. And you know what? Then, like, why can't organizations, why can't people log into their favorite nonprofit they pay into every month and log into their own account? Why can't they do that? With Engine 9, you can do that. Why can't we do that? Like, we should be able to manage, even as donors, we should be able to manage who we're donating to, what that looks like. There's just so many things that the what if world is here now. Like, what if we can do that? So,
all those times you said that, like, God, if only, like,
if only, well, it's here and we can really make that happen.
Grab onto it, because this is where we are. So
it's exciting, guys. It's exciting.
Oh, it's a very exciting time to be in here and be in it and be part of like Anna and I were like, we're in the arena, we're doing it, we're showing up, we're trying to do some hard things and trying to rebuild and get rid of some of these old structures. It's just really, really important to be like, we can do this. So thank you so much for your time. I know we're wildly over, but that's okay. Really interesting stuff. No, obviously you and I, we know we could talk for days and then no one could hear us because we're talking so fast. I was like, I'm going to try to really talk slowly on this week's episode because Leah and I can be like, no, it's all good. It's all good. Next week on Untangled, I'm going to have Abby Lupi, who is at the Career Village. And I'm so excited. I met her at the Good Tech Summit and we just happened to be sitting at a table next to her, which is how all these, great conversations start. And the bullet points she's already come up with for our talk next week, it's called Impact Happens at the Speed of Trust. And I was like, ooh, and there's just all this stuff about how everything is evolving so quickly. How do you hang on to anything? What's this looking like? These are some of these other bigger thinking ideas around the actual just speed of what is happening right now. We cannot, our little pea brains, even though these are the most important, computers on the planet, we have been programmed in a certain way. And right now it is very hard for us to break down our old programming and rebuild in a new way that is, we have fresh tracks to make in Snow People. You got to leave those old tracks behind. As much as they're well-worn paths, you have to be like, how do I get up and out of that and go find the fresh powder? Because it's out there and it is like insane. And we all know how amazing, well, not all of us. Those of us who know what it's like to go out on a fresh powder day and be like, we're going to carve fresh tracks. That's what we're talking about. It's like fresh tracks for us. So I'm excited for that talk next week. Leah Lundberg, thank you so much. Engine 9, Fracture, all the amazing things. This is another episode of Untangled. I'm Jen Fraser, your host from Firefly Partners. You can find us on Spotify and Apple now. That's my other thing. I'm very excited. Like, our podcast is out there now. So go find us and follow us, and you'll be notified when all of our new episodes drop. So have a great rest of your Thursday, everybody. Leah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.